Our feature today, University Malaysia Terengganu UMT recently achieved excellence in the field of marine science after a team of its researchers succeeded in releasing 600,000 coral seeds in the waters of Pulau Bidong. The success of the coral seeding effort is the first ever in the country. Today I'm joined by UMT Coral Researcher Associate Professor Dr. Chun Hong. Hi Doc, it's good to speak to you and of course to find out a little bit more about all these serious efforts. Now from what I understand, this is the first time a coral seeding effort has been fruitful in the country. What necessitated this and why did we not do this any earlier and why is it important now?
All right. Hi Jessie. Thank you. University Malaysia Terengganu is focused on marine research because this is our niche area. So as we know, the live coral cover percent in Malaysia decreased, especially in the past decades. So the survey report actually indicate that an average decrease of about 1% in live coral cover per year on annual basis. And this is due to many multiple stresses, for example, pollution, for example, storm event. So in this particular event that we are doing the seeding is actually one of the site in front of our UMT Marine Research Station that they are damaged because of storm bubble in 2019. All right. So in the large disturbances like this, recovery rely on new recruitment, which new recruitment is always very slow, and the mortality and the early life history stages of the hard coral especially, they are very high. All right. And this effort that we are doing in terms of this seeding will help, first to reduce the mortality rate of the coral larvae, and hopefully this will actually help to accelerate the reef recovery.
That's right, something very important for us to uphold. Yes.
All right. Yeah. I'm happy.
All right. So from the outside, this seems like a meticulous process as well, one that needs to follow a sort of structured system. Tell us about the team behind it, from its from its conceptualizing to carrying it out into the actual ocean bed.
All right. I'm actually the head of a research interest group we call Reef, stands for Research on Education and Environment for Future Sustainability, that established under Faculty of Science and Marine Environment in UMT. Over the past 4 to 5 years, we have actually actively tried to record coral spawning, in Malaysia Reef. So after 4 to 5 years of research, we are confidently to say that in Malaysia Reef we have 2 spawning seasons. So this is the seeding event is kind of a continuous from our 4 years of research, and then to look at after the spawning, what can we actually use the seeding. So what we have done, is actually about 6 months of time that looking at the literature, and then after that gathering our equipment to make sure that we can collect the coral eggs and the sperm, and then after that to successfully maintain a good water quality to increase the survival rate of the embryo stages of the coral. As I mentioned earlier, at the early embryogenesis stages of the coral, the mortality is very high. So in order for us to successfully to produce enough numbers of seeding larvae for the seeding process, we want to make sure that we have a very good water quality. We want to make sure that in the water there's no other predators. So that's where the rest of my teams that actually come in under this RIG to focus of different components that to help to ensure that we can produce high quality and high amount of coral larvae that we can use for this seeding. So this is when I talk about the tedious part of this, the whole process is the first 7 days where we have to monitor the coral larvae process for the first 7 days for 24 hours straight.
That's right. Little babies, of course, fragile as well, and they need an environment that will enable them to thrive. But you talk about external forces, and I cannot help but think about the effects of climate change on coral reefs. We've seen this. We've seen, many seas across the globe, many on our Malaysian shores as well that have been affected. What can we learn from this? How much is climate change contributing to this? Which is a bigger threat at this point, climate change or pollution?
All right. Actually, if you look at the different threats that you mentioned over here, climate change is more like a global threat that affecting not only the reef in Malaysia but also the reef worldwide. All right. So if you look at the past record, Malaysia, have actually experienced the impact from climate change. For example, the coral bleaching, all right, and which is actually ongoing at the moment. And then locally, we have those pollution, or what we call these local stress that's ongoing because of coastal development, because of tourism activities, and so on and so forth. Okay, and because of that, all right, that we believe is one of the causes that we are looking at, as I mentioned earlier, the decrease of live coral cover, okay, at 1% per year, which is actually very high, looking at the amount of live coral that we have in Malaysia. And because of that, okay, while we have to deal with the local threats like the pollution, that what the local manager can do on the coral reef, at the global level to deal with this climate change. So it is very important that at the global platform that Malaysia have to make their commitment to reduce the emission of, for example, the greenhouse gases, and also to accelerate our commitment in the green energy to help to battle the impact from climate change.
Doctor, thank you very much for your input, and of course telling us exactly what has been the efforts there, and we really do wish you and the entire team the very best. That was UMT Coral Researcher, Associate Professor Dr. Tan Chun Hong. We'll take a short breather. When I come back, we'll look at some headlines from around the world in the international. Be right back.